Chapter 4, The Price of Power. Part when the quiet cracks. The morning light spilled through the blinds like gold dust. Warm and familiar, yet slightly too bright, as if the world itself was trying to remind Altara Vale that he didn't belong to it anymore. He sat at his small wooden desk, the one covered with math worksheets and pencil marks. In front of him lay his notebook, the same one that once held ledgers and corporate plans, now filled with candy inventories and trade charts. Lines, arrows, and numbers sprawled across the page in organized chaos. Beneath it all, his handwriting neat, deliberate, like the signature of a man who had once ruled empires. But this was no empire. Not really. It was a playground, a patch of asphalt ruled by sugar and noise. And yet, as he studied his notes, he felt that old spark again, the rhythm of profit, the dance of control. Every trade, every exchange, every child who came to him with desperate eyes and sticky fingers was another piece in the grand puzzle he had always loved solving. It was intoxicating, and it terrified him. From downstairs came the familiar sound of his mother humming the same melody that used to drift through his childhood mornings decades ago. That sound alone should have grounded him, pulled him back to innocence. But instead, it twisted around his heart like a reminder of what time had stolen. He closed the notebook. At school, things had changed. The playground buzzed like a miniature city. Candy changed hands faster than rumors. Stickers, erasers, and even Pokemon cards had found their value within Altara's system. The star points once scribbled on notebook paper had become a currency everyone respected. Even the teachers noticed the difference. "You're such an organized young man, Altara," one had said with a smile. "Maybe you'll be a banker one day," he'd smiled politely, biting back the irony. Derek Mason, the old bully, now worked for him. Not directly, Derek was too proud for that, but indirectly, through smaller trades and influence. He was a regional manager, as Altara half-joked to himself. The irony of turning his tormentor into a subordinate was not lost on him. But power, he had learned long ago, was never the problem. It was the feeling of power that consumed the soul. Ivy had begun to see that. Her eyes, once filled with admiration and amusement at his cleverness, now carried something colder concern. "Altara," she said one afternoon as they sat under the oak tree near the basketball court, "you've built something impressive. But doesn't it ever feel wrong?" He looked up from his notebook. "Wrong? What do you mean?" She hesitated, searching for words. "It's just everyone listens to you. They follow your rules. They trade because you say it's fair. But who decides what's fair, you?" Altara smiled faintly, the same way he used to smile at nervous shareholders. "Someone has to keep order. That's what everyone who's ever had power says," she murmured. The wind stirred between them. A page in his notebook fluttered numbers and names dancing in the sunlight like ghosts of a system too large for a child's world. He wanted to argue, to explain that control was stability, that structure was safety. But the words caught in his throat. Ivy's gaze calm. Questioning pierced through layers of his practiced logic. "Maybe," she said softly, "you're just afraid of what happens when you're not in control." He looked away, toward the playground, his empire. The laughter, the deals, the rules, the very same things that once filled boardrooms and headlines in another life. The repetition chilled him. Maybe she was right. That evening, Altara lay awake beneath his superhero sheets. The room glowed faintly blue from the nightlight shaped like a rocket ship. His notebook sat on the nightstand beside him, closed for once. His mind drifted back decades into the life he'd lost. Boardrooms filled with polished men and hollow smiles. Contracts inked with promises and betrayals. His own reflection in mirrored windows, older, colder, emptier. The truth pressed against his chest like a weight. He hadn't built empires to protect others. He'd built them to protect himself from powerlessness, from fear, from pain. Now here he was in a smaller body repeating the same pattern. And for the first time since waking in this strange second life, he felt something close to shame. He turned over and stared at the ceiling, whispering into the dark, "Maybe this time I can end it differently." The moonlight touched his face like a quiet promise. The next few days passed in uneasy rhythm. Altara noticed more cracks in his system, small things at first. A trade dispute between two collectors. A missing ledger page. Kids hoarding candy instead of circulating it. Then rumors Derek Mason was keeping a private stash and charging interest to younger students who borrowed sweets. It was absurdly familiar, microcosm of every market he'd ever built, complete with corruption and greed. But this time, he couldn't blame anyone but himself. When he confronted Derek, the boy just smirked. "Don't act like you're any better, Vale. You're the one who taught us how to play the game." The words stung more than they should have, because Derek was right. Altara wasn't teaching fairness, he was teaching dominance. That afternoon, Ivy found him sitting alone at the far edge of the field, staring at the distant horizon where the clouds burned gold. "You look tired," she said gently, sitting beside him. "I am," he admitted. "For the first time and I don't even know how long. Maybe you're tired of playing the same game." He glanced at her. "And if it's the only game I know how to play?" She smiled, sad but warm. "Then maybe it's time to learn a new one." Altara didn't reply. His hands fidgeted with the corner of his notebook, thumb tracing the worn paper where numbers and debts lived like old ghosts. The wind carried laughter from the playground, laughter that once filled him with satisfaction. Now it only made him feel small.